Now, let's go back to building or creating your priority list to achieve your goals and objectives. This is important because this priority list will begin to throw people off as well when creating that list of the most important things you can do, numbered by priority to achieve your objectives. Let's examine that. When formulating that list, let's say that you know there's a cost to, you know, produce, structure, create, manifest, begin developing your idea. And there's a cost associated with it. At that point, you must be clear what that budget is and can you afford it? And more importantly, do you have access to those, financial resources that might be required to even initiate your idea? That brings me to this point. If that is the case, and let's say you do not have access to capital, then do not make that the priority. Why? Because you can stunt your growth. That can stop your progress. That can really turn you around and discourage you because you're looking at the cost initially that will be required to achieve your objective. That's not the way you do it. Again, that can totally stifle, stagnate, or even disrupt or dislodge your enthusiasm and your initiatives to begin building upon the manifestation of your idea, your objective, your primary goals. You see? So let us list priorities that we know we can do. It may require a lot of time, it may require research, it might require study, it may require consultations. Let us focus on that which we can do and prioritize it based on that, where you can take massive actions. Do not prioritize something you cannot take massive action in doing. Now, it's not to say that if this is capital based and you need funds to be able to achieve your objective, that you cannot apply massive action to that to locate those funds. But in the meantime, while you're doing that, you may not be developing the rest of the ideas or the list of priorities that will help you move forward and gain traction to obtain your goals. So be very careful of that. Now, there's another part of that that I would like to present here, and that's credit. Listen, when you have very good personal credit, and that's not hard to achieve when you actually know how the process works. And that is what 99.9% of the people who have credit issues have any clarity or true knowledge of, and that's how that process works. First thing is the law says that if you did not tell them or allow them to put that on your report, they have to remove it. Most people don't know that. And they don't know that there's a process to be able to achieve that. It's usually just two steps: directly dealing with them or having the opposing letters sent to them continuously over a period of several months. That will usually do the job. And the hardest or more difficult things, you will deal with them directly and negotiate. So, again, when you have very good credit, you have no limitations. But it is very critical to understand how credit works. So, what does that mean? That means in personal credit, you must have multiple types of a payment history on your credit file. The thicker your file with all positives, the greater your capacity to be able to obtain any amount of funding you need when you need it. But there's also another factor: you should never go over 30%. If you go over 30% of your credit capacity, your score comes down. which means you must have multiple sources of credit. So if you have one credit card and you have a $10,000 limit, you can only spend $3,000 of it. You see? But if you have 5 cards that have $10,000 limits, you can take 3,000 from each one. But you must be able to pay it back. And it's better not to pay it off long period. It's better to do it in the short term, 24 business days. That will keep your credit score inching up higher. But if you're going to be a consumer and you want to finance things as a consumer, small and large items, that's not wise. You cannot be a consumer and have very good credit if you're buying and spending all of the time and paying the minimum on you because you want these material items now and to enjoy them. There's a better way to do it. You can have all of that, but there's a better way to do it. I'll explain that. When it comes to credit, you must have revenue streams. You see, credit and revenue streams are a symbiotic species. Credit means you can pay it back. So by having multiple revenue streams, you can pay it back. You see, they have a symbiotic relationship, and that's something we need to understand. Without multiple sources of income, you should not try to be a consumer by financing small and large items with your personal credit. It's very simple. It's a very simple premise. So now we have a better understanding, and we can go in depth in that at another time. But this basic overview should help a lot of people understand how credit really works. Now, let's go further. Now, let's look at if you are going to build a business with your idea, etc. Maybe it's not business, maybe it's art, maybe it's something else. But just the same, we're looking at the financial part. What about having a legal entity such as a corporation, a limited liability company, a limited partnership, a sole proprietor, an S corporation, or a legal entity that you can build business credit with? Because business credit is not like personal credit. Business credit has no limits. With personal credit, unless you're very wealthy and have a Black American Express, among other cards of that caliber, you have limitations. So let's look at business credit. It has no limitations. It has the same capacity of a high net worth individual with, let's say, personal credit. And that's very important. So we use business credit to be able to finance things, and we don't have a limit when we have to pay it back. It doesn't drop your credit score. You're doing a different level of credit with a different animal. So business credit is what makes the world go round. Most businesses in this world use business lines of credit. I mean, most businesses. I don't care the size of it. They use it because it can offset profits. So let's say your company made 30 million in profits and you use $30 million worth of business credit, then you can offset that. And what will happen is you will end up paying little to no taxes because you have a debt of 30 million and you have a profit of 30 million, which in essence is really not a profit because you have to pay it back because you use business credit. But remember, you can pay that business credit back slowly over time. And so your profits are retained. Now, let's go forward. So think about business credit and perfect personal credit as being the source of your funding if you don't have access to anything else. So if you need your credit cleaned up, then that process can be handled by Brightman Capital. They're the best. Or you want to build business credit. You use who? Brightman Capital. They're the best and they get results. So this is how we look at when building that priority list of things to do to achieve your goals. We prioritize it based on what we can do, what we can add massive action to, not something that we cannot add massive action to. That's the key.